The rise and expansion of the Assyrian Empire in the first millennium BCE dramatically reshaped the political landscape. It also transformed the cultural landscape of the ancient Near East during this period. Among the most significant consequences of Assyrian imperial policy were the conquest of the northern kingdom. This policy also led to the subsequent subjugation of the southern kingdom of Judah by Assyria. These events, recorded in both biblical and Assyrian sources, marked turning points in Israelite history. They left a profound legacy on the region that endured for centuries afterward. Following the death of King Solomon, the once unified kingdom of Israel split into two states. These were the northern kingdom of Israel, often called the House of Omri, and Judah. The northern kingdom, with its capital at Samaria, was larger and more populous but unstable. Judah, centered in Jerusalem, maintained a separate line of Davidic kings despite its smaller size. The Assyrian Empire, based in northern Mesopotamia and named for its chief god Ashur, emerged. It became the dominant military and political power in the region during this era. Beginning in the 9th century BCE, Assyria expanded aggressively to control lucrative trade routes. It also sought to dominate the fertile lands of the Levant, including Israel and Judah. This growing empire would soon exert immense pressure on the divided Israelite kingdoms, politically. It also caused dramatic shifts in their sovereignty and identity over time. The emergence of Assyria as a dominant force was not sudden, but gradual. It resulted from centuries of militarization, administrative innovation, and strategic alliances with other powers. From its early days as a city-state along the Tigris River, Assyria expanded. It grew through a combination of warfare, diplomacy, and economic integration with neighboring regions. By the 9th century BCE, under rulers like Ashur-nasir-pal II, Assyria asserted itself. Shalmaneser III also helped establish Assyria as a regional superpower during this period. The empire's military prowess was unmatched, with highly disciplined and well-organized armies. Equipped with advanced siege technology to conquer fortified cities across the Near East. Assyrian kings employed brutal tactics to suppress resistance, including mass deportations and forced resettlement. Public displays of cruelty were used to instill fear in subject populations under their rule. These policies served a broader imperial strategy, aimed at integrating conquered territories administratively. For the divided Israelite kingdoms, the rise of Assyria posed an existential threat. The northern kingdom of Israel struggled with internal instability due to frequent dynastic changes. Palace coups further weakened the kingdom despite its larger population and greater resources. The House of Omri ruled from approximately 884 to 873 BCE until the mid-8th century BCE. It attempted to stabilize Israel through strategic marriages and alliances with neighboring states. These efforts were ultimately insufficient to withstand Assyria's growing pressure on the region. Meanwhile, Judah, though smaller and less powerful, benefited from its highland isolation. Continued adherence to the Davidic dynasty provided political continuity absent in the north. The northern kingdom of Israel found itself caught between Assyria and other powers. Regional rivals like Egypt and Aram Damascus also competed for influence over Israel. Initially, Israel became a vassal state, paying tribute to Assyria to maintain autonomy. However, frequent political upheaval and alliances with rival states made it a target. The Syro-Ephraimite War, c. 735 to 732 BCE, exemplified tensions between these kingdoms. Israel and Aram Damascus formed an alliance against Judah to force an anti-Assyrian coalition. In response, Judah's ruler, King Ahaz, sought Assyrian assistance against this alliance. Assyrian intervention weakened Israel and its allies, setting the stage for future conquests. During this period, rulers like Tiglath Pileser III consolidated influence over the region. They demanded tribute from cities like Damascus and Samaria around 738 BCE. When these territories rebelled, Assyria responded with decisive force and mass deportations. Tiglath Pileser III, also known as Pul in the Bible, played a crucial role. His reign, 745 to 727 BCE, marked aggressive expansion and administrative reform in Assyria. He restructured the Assyrian army and introduced new taxation systems for efficiency. A network of provincial governors loyal to the crown was also established. One of his earliest campaigns brought him into contact with the Israelite kingdoms. According to 2 Kings 15:19-20, King Menahem of Israel paid heavy tribute. This was to secure his throne and prevent further Assyrian incursions. King Rezin of Aram Damascus and King Pekah of Israel attempted to resist. They formed a coalition with Judah, but their efforts ultimately failed. King Ahaz of Judah turned to Assyria for support against this coalition. This decision proved disastrous for Israel and Aram Damascus in the long term. Pileser III launched a punitive campaign capturing Damascus in 732 BCE. He annexed several Israelite territories, including Galilee and Gilead, during this campaign. Many inhabitants were deported to Assyria, marking the beginning of Israel's end. The situation escalated under King Hoshea, who ruled Israel in the late 8th century BCE. Seeking to break free from Assyria, Hoshea withheld tribute and sought Egyptian support. This move provoked a severe response from Assyria, leading to war. Around 724 BCE, Shalmaneser V laid siege to Samaria, Israel's capital. The conflict lasted approximately 3 years before the city fell. Shalmaneser V died during this time, and Sargon II completed the conquest. Samaria was captured in 722 to 720 BCE, ending the northern kingdom's independence. Assyrian records indicate that 27,280 Israelites were deported to various regions. These included Gusana in Assyria and cities of the Medes in Iran. Foreign populations were resettled in Samaria to prevent local resistance. This mass deportation gave rise to the legend of the Lost Tribes. The 10 tribes of the Northern Kingdom vanished from historical records afterward. The fall of Samaria represented one of the most traumatic episodes in Israelite history. Unlike previous campaigns, the conquest of Israel was total and irreversible. The loss of Samaria signified the collapse of an entire nation. The deportation of elite classes left the remaining population vulnerable to exploitation. Assyrian records, particularly Sargon II's, emphasized the completeness of this victory. He described carrying off the Israelites and replacing them with foreign settlers. These newcomers intermarried with surviving Israelites, adopting a syncretistic form of worship. Over time, this mixed community became a source of tension with Judah. The impact of Assyria's conquest on Israel was profound and lasting. The destruction of the Northern Kingdom ended its existence as a sovereign state. It also altered the demographic and cultural fabric of the region significantly. Meanwhile, Judah faced the challenge of survival under Assyrian domination. Unlike Israel, Judah retained autonomy by submitting to Assyria and paying tribute. This arrangement placed Judah under constant pressure to comply with demands. Judah's leaders had to balance independence with avoiding annihilation carefully. The reign of King Hezekiah, 727 to 698 BCE, marked a critical juncture. He inherited a kingdom weakened by decades of subservience to Assyria. However, Judah retained a strong religious identity centered around the Jerusalem temple. Determined to assert independence, Hezekiah initiated reforms to centralize worship in Jerusalem. He eliminated pagan altars and reinforced the city's walls for defense. These measures strengthened Judah's spiritual unity and prepared it for conflict. Hezekiah's boldness grew after the death of Sargon II in 705 BCE. A succession crisis in Assyria presented an opportunity for rebellion. Hezekiah joined a coalition of Philistia, Edom, and Moab against Assyria. He also sought Egyptian support to counterbalance Assyrian power in the region. This defiance did not go unnoticed by the Assyrian leadership. In 701 BCE, Sennacherib launched a massive campaign to crush the rebellion. His forces captured key cities like Lachish after fierce battles. Archaeological excavations at Lachish reveal evidence of destruction and Assyrian reliefs. As Sennacherib's army approached Jerusalem, Hezekiah faced an existential crisis. According to 2 Kings 18-19, he sent envoys to negotiate peace. When failed, Sennacherib's commander mocked Jerusalem's reliance on divine protection. Despite threats, Hezekiah refused to surrender and prayed for deliverance. The prophet Isaiah assured him that God would protect Jerusalem. The narrative concludes with a miraculous intervention leading to Assyria's retreat. Assyrian records provide a different perspective on these events. Sennacherib's inscriptions boast of his successful campaign against Judah. He claims to have trapped Hezekiah like a caged bird. However, they do not mention the capture of Jerusalem itself. Some scholars suggest plague or logistical issues caused the withdrawal. Regardless, Jerusalem survived, preserving Judah's independence and religious significance. Despite this escape, Judah remained an Assyrian vassal state afterward. Hezekiah's successors, particularly Manasseh, adopted a conciliatory approach toward Assyria. He ruled from approximately 697 to 642 BCE and is portrayed negatively. The Hebrew Bible criticizes him for reintroducing pagan practices. Assyrian records describe him as a loyal vassal. Under Manasseh, Judah experienced relative stability and economic prosperity. His reign demonstrated the complexities of navigating vassalage successfully. The interactions between Israel, Judah, and Assyria involved cycles of conflict. Vassalage, rebellion, and devastation characterized these relationships over time. For the northern kingdom, conquest led to dispersal and myth. For Judah, the period required diplomacy and resilience to survive. Assyria's influence extended beyond military conquest into demographics and culture. Figures shaped these relationships decisively throughout this era. Shalmaneser V initiated the siege of Samaria before dying. Sargon II completed the conquest and deported Israelites. King Hoshea's rebellion triggered the final Assyrian invasion. In Judah, Hezekiah symbolized faith and resistance under pressure. Sennacherib devastated Judah, but failed to take Jerusalem. Manasseh balanced loyalty to Assyria with internal governance challenges. The legacy of Assyrian rule endured for centuries. The destruction of Israel shifted Israelite identity permanently. Judah's survival set the stage for its resurgence. Assyria's interactions illustrate imperial power and national resilience. In conclusion, Assyria's impact was profound and multifaceted. The conquest of Israel and siege of Jerusalem were defining moments. These events highlight the complexities of ancient imperial power. Through conflict and adaptation, Assyria reshaped the Levant. Its legacy continues to resonate in historical discourse today.